You all set, Jeremiah? Okay, Melissa, why don't you start out with the numbers?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. After 11 months ending February 29th, the authority's operating income before capital contributions and non-operating expenses is approximately 7.9 million. Operating revenues are consistent where they've been all year. 2% over budget, 4% over prior year, and 15% over fiscal year 23. The favorable budgeted variance over and prior year variance is attributed to increased gas sales, fare box revenue, and toll bus revenue, as well as contractual increases in guaranteed minimums to the transit advertising revenue. Operating expenses for the personnel expenses were 11% under budget and 70% over prior year. For non-personnel expenses were 8% under budget and 5% over prior year. Our trends continue to be very consistent as we're 11 months in. Personnel expenses, the variances are attributed to staff positions, and for the non-personnel expenses, the most notable is the year-over-year expenses for risk management, which are trending under budget and under prior year, as well as the fuel, which is attributed to our lack of CNG fuel costs. Any questions so far? On a summary basis, operating expenses are 10% under budget, 6% over prior year, and 10% over fiscal year 23. For non-operating revenues, they are operating 2% under budget, 7% over prior year, and 8% over fiscal year 23. The year-over-year variance contributed to STOA, and mortgage recording taxes continue to perform better than anticipated. Any questions so far? Mortgage recording tax revenue totals for this month is $533,000, and they are performing 5% over prior year and approximately 12% over budget. Again, second month with Portland County's mortgage recording taxes consistent with prior months. For investment revenue, or investment report, unrestricted operating cash totals $21.9 million. We did receive STOA this month, that's the increase in cash, and total uninvested reserve is $8.5 million. Subsequently to close, so some of our cash balance is also reflective based on when the T-bills matured, so subsequently to close, we did additionally invest funds. So treasury at the month end, we had $1 million invested in treasury bills, and again, additional funds were invested after the close. So our cash flow, we utilized approximately $7 million in operating revenue, and we received approximately $17.9 million. Again, we did receive STOA this month, so between STOA and the local mandate, that was $14.4 million received. That is utilized over the next 3 months for operations. Reserves total $18.9 million. So we continue to have a healthy cash position going into the fiscal year. Is there any questions in regards to that?
Still a year behind, right?
It, a year, it's like a quarter behind? Yeah, so we report like last quarter's numbers to get this quarter's, revenue. Any additional questions? So the next part of our presentation is our 25-26 budget and financial plan. There is a sheet on the table. There was for our multi-year operating budget projections, there was a error in the spreadsheet where special line revenue was held flat. We do increase that approximately 3% year over year. So that's what this is on the table. But I'm going to turn it over to Derek to present the budget plan.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Let's just jump right into the budget. Just kind of give a general overview of our budget approach. It's a zero-based budget approach, which generally is built from the ground up, or a way to plan how we use each dollar earned. It's a team collaboration among execs, directors, and managers. As always, appreciate everyone's time and effort going into the budget process. When we build the budget, we evaluate costs, identify needs, evaluate union contracts and contractual commitments, as well as identify operating and non-operating revenue sources and capital revenues and capital improvement needs. Some key factors we consider: projecting revenue and expenses, continued ridership growth, growth in operating revenue, service expansion, hiring and retaining staff. Anticipated challenges we factor in as well: less federal operating assistance, MRT revenue, volatility, staffing, and rising costs. The authority's budget deficit is approximately 1.7 million for the 25-26 fiscal year. Total budget revenue to support operations 99.8 million, while total budget expenses is approximately $101 million. The addition of Cortland County contributes approximately 1.7% to the budget revenue increase and 3.3% to the budget expense increase.
Just
Any
remember
questions?
everybody that the budget is built right now based on the intelligence that they have at this point in time. These numbers could be fluid based on our state appropriations, and it's also based upon fully staffed.
Yes.
You guys taught me where.
Any other questions? Operating revenues are budgeted at 3% or $412,000 over the fiscal year 2025 projected year-end totals, and have been adjusted slightly from the proposed budget of $586,000. Some of the changes: special item passenger revenue budget was revised to reflect anticipated contract service levels and contractual rates, accounting for net change due to both rate increases and the elimination of the J.M. Murray service in Cortland. Advertising and other revenue budget was adjusted to align with current trends and projected usage of parking facilities at both the RTC and I-81 lots. Non-operating revenues are budgeted at 8% or nearly $6 million over the 25 projected year-end totals, and have been adjusted from the proposed budget by $2.2 million. Operating assistant revenue budget was adjusted to reflect the increase in STOA outlined in the governor's executive budget. And mortgage tax revenue budget was adjusted based on current trends and optimistic outlook for mortgage tax collections. Any questions there? Operating expenses are budgeted at 17% of 14.9 million over the 25 projected year-end totals, and have been adjusted from the proposed budget by $875,000. The most significant changes from the proposed budget to the final budget include the salary and wages and other employee benefits that were adjusted to reflect anticipated open positions and appropriate staffing levels. Healthcare benefits were revised to align with projected staffing levels and observed trends in healthcare costs. Workers' compensation was adjusted based on anticipating staffing levels and expected increases from contract renewals starting in August of this year. Pension benefits updated to reflect anticipated staffing levels, actuarial projections, and increased contribution requirements. Risk management was revised to align with industry trends and account for additional insurance policies required for Cortland County. And purchase transportation was adjusted to reflect current trends and contractual cost increases. Question?
Okay, can you go back to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
From my own understanding, sorry everyone. So your top salary, wages, other employees and health benefits. Help me out for a second. So they went down, the change for 25-26, they're going down.
Correct. So we just made sure that we were accounting for all open positions. After a second look, I think we had, in our original budget, we had more open operator positions than we come to realize we actually will. It's fully staffed, but I think we were double counting in some areas, part-time and full-time. So
Okay.
we kind of readjusted that being the biggest changes. I think we also, for Cortland County, had additional positions budgeted that would be filled.
Okay, thank you.
No, those are
Appreciate
good
that. I
questions.
was just kinda trying to make it work in my head, that's all. It's difficult to understand.
Those are great questions. Are we-
Yeah,
did I
yeah,
go
we're-
too far?
no, so here's a summary of the multi-year operating budget projections. While operating projections have improved compared to the proposed budget, the final budget for 25-26 still reflects a deficit. Deficits are expected to continue as operating expenses are projected to increase approximately 4% annually, which total revenue is anticipated to grow at a slower rate or even decline, particularly in non-operating revenue.
And what we mean by that is, obviously it's no secret, we've been talking about this, is the COVID relief funds will be exhausted either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So then we'll go back to the normal level of operating expenses from the federal level. So that's what we mean by, either will increase slowly or decline.
These projections assume the use of operating revenues to offset future deficits. If the deficits persist as projected, all reserve funds will be depleted by 28-29. Any questions? All year-over-year assumptions for operating revenue remain consistent with those in the proposed budget. Similarly, year-over-year assumptions for non-operating revenue are unchanged from the proposed budget. The adjustments made relate to assumed revenues in 25-26 budget, which are then projected forward.
Is there, so the total revenue seems to be taking a big dip from 25, 26 to 26, 27.
And you'll see that in the operating assistance, right? So in 25-26, we are able to use our conserved preventative maintenance funds that we didn't use during the whole COVID period, which is approximately $11 million.
Okay.
So those are all conserved funds, but into the future, we'll have to rely on our current PM, which is roughly 4 million.
Got you.
So that's where you see that significant drop.
Let's sell some more houses in Sweden.
Please.
Yes.
Most year-over-year assumptions for operating expenses remain consistent with those in the proposed budget, with a few exceptions. Purchase transportation, the year-over-year increase has been reduced from 6% to 5% based on contract costs and forecast demand. Fuel, the year-over-year increase has been adjusted from 3% to 4%, reflecting forecasted fuel costs and the expiration of the IRS rebate for CNG fuel. And other expenses, the year-over-year increase has been reduced from 3% to 2% based on just forecasted needs. Any questions there? Now, based on the capital budget is funded through a combination of federal and state grants with local matching funds. The capital budget for 25-26 is $30.6 million, which is 22% higher than the proposed capital plan. This increase is primarily due to the carryover of projects from the current fiscal year, including bus deliveries, BRT, restroom renovations, and the CNG station. Some key funded projects for fiscal year 25-26: land acquisition for the Oneida facility upgrades, including CNG facility improvements, trench drains, and completion of restroom renovations. Hydrogen initiatives, including the purchase of hydrogen skin, hydrogen infrastructure, and workforce training. Video mirrors for the fixed route, and transit enhancements, including BRT and real-time solar signage. Any questions? The capital improvement funding plan outlines the fiscal year in which funding will become available for these projects. Generally, projects will not be executed until the following fiscal year. This plan assumes that federal and state funding levels remain consistent with past increases. Some key highlights of the funding plan: construction of a new facility to consolidate Utica and Rome operations for Central Oneida. Bus rapid transit of the BRT project in Syracuse, purchase of hydrogen buses, various facility upgrades, procurement of fixed route and paratransit buses. Any questions?
Any projects in Cortland or Oswego or?
We'll touch base on that.
And so Monty, this is historically, and generally speaking, this is our direct funding from federal or state, and we traditionally haven't mapped out the 5311 funding because that is really volatile. So a lot of times the stuff that, like the bus replacements in Hugo and Oswego, will be filtered through this plan.
Here's the capital budget for Cortland. The Cortland capital needs are currently unfunded within the authority's existing capital plan. These projects include construction of a dedicated facility to house operations, the purchase of onboard bus cameras to enhance safety and security, and the acquisition of computer hardware, facility equipment, new fare boxes, office equipment, service trucks, shelters, and supervisory vehicles.
So I have also a caveat to this, as the printing of the budget book, we were still kind of steadfast in saying these are unfunded. Certain amount of funding has been transferred over, or will be transferred over. So things like fare box and other equipment, there is now funding available, and certainly we do have an application with New York State for 5311 funding. They will be a 5311 property. And we're hoping that a good amount of these things will be funded, we're just pending.
Any other questions? That concludes the budget report.
Let's go back. I need a motion to accept the, statement of revenue and expenditures. Tina, Robert, second. Any discussion, all in favor? Aye. Now going to the budget. We're gonna bring this together, the operating capital. And this, so we're gonna do one motion. And let me tell you, that was, is there more on the capital, or is this, are we continuing to,
No, we're good.
We're done.
we're done, anything else on the capital? Okay. So let me just get something straight, so I understand, the board members understand. We have advocacy going with an application to help offset the capital needs in Cortland County. Very similar to what we did over 20 years ago in Oneida County. We had, they asked for those, startup funds, basically to get it somewhat up to where we like the central way. So when, at this point, Derek, that was good, you did a good job, and Melissa, good job. Need a motion to accept the operating and capital budget for 25 and 26. Okay, Tina, second. Neil, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, very good. Melissa, we're gonna go, we're gonna try to get ahead of the game a little bit with this, pension contribution, I think.
Yes, so, today, just a little backstory, Central funds the salaried and non-salaried plans based on the recommendation of our actuaries from Brookline. And we currently fund these plans, based on the 10-year amortization schedule. And so part is, as we have in past years, as part of our annual budget process, we kind of try to do some forecasting, look ahead, and get some reports from the actuaries, to find out the funding ratio, contributions, withdrawals, and then anticipated retirements in the next year. So giving these considerations, as we have in the last couple of years, we're requesting to the board the approval to make an additional contribution totaling $400,000, and that would be $300,000 to the non-salaried plan and $100,000 to the salaried plan.
So you, once again, it's about 90%, you said it's your goal?
Between 80 and 100, right now they're just under 90%, so we're trying to get them closer to that 90%.
It's good planning, very good planning.
Fully funded.
I like it because you're putting cash in right now with a down market, so I kind of like that a little bit more. Great. Motion? Okay, Julia, second. Tina, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, I'm gonna get, Tara? There you go, you get it, see? More. Tara's gonna go over a bunch of resolutions here. We're gonna start out with 3A, authorizing Deputy Chief Executive Officer to sign operating and funding transfer agreement.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. This resolution, like he said, is to authorize the operating and funding transfer agreement with Cortland County. So this agreement is going to move their state funding to the authority. And there are two different pots of money, one being ATC funding at $232,000 and 5311 funding at $2.34 million. So that transfer will start with NISDOT. They will create a schedule for us. We will be able to accept that as a grant agreement. That will be forthcoming. But this document will allow us to continue through the process. It is with Cortland County for signature, and then we'll come back for Christopher's signature, or vice versa, as it's moving through the chain. So with your authorization, we can continue that moving forward.
Motion, Tina, second. Monty, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Moving on to 3B, want another grant application for $230,000?
If you would allow me, these both, B and C, if I could talk about those
Sure.
in tandem. These contracts were actually approved at February's board meeting, and they were a consolidated contract. NISDOT has come back to us and requested us to break them apart into two separate contracts on their end for trackability. So I am requesting reauthorization of that funding into two separate contract sources with NISDOT.
Okay, so B's around just south of 230, and C's, just south of 7.3. Okay, so we'll keep everything separate then, a motion for, 3B. Julia, second, Luella, any discussion, all in favor? Aye, and then we're gonna go with 3C. Motion for 3C, Monty, second. Luella, any discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, good work. Absolutely. Okay. I think everything else, we can talk about under your report with that Title IV.
The Title VI.
Excuse me, Title VI. Okay. Melissa, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, folks, that'll conclude our, that's gonna conclude our finance committee. Let's take a little recess here. Okay. I want to welcome everybody to the meeting this end of March. And we're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance. And we have Janine lead us in the pledge here today.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have a quorum present. Our next meeting is April 25th. We'll have a pension committee meeting. It should be interesting. It's 9 o'clock. Audit and finance at 9:30. Board meeting at 10. I have a motion to approve the regular minutes of February 28th, 25. Okay, Tina, second. Julius, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Moving on to Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. Busy month, a couple things to talk about. Some things, hopefully, we'll see how the budget comes out April 1st. But as Melissa talked about and Derek did in our budget review for 25-26, still drawing down the COVID funds. Last month, about $313,000. We have about $3.5 million left of COVID funds that we anticipate drawing down by the end of this fiscal year or shortly in the beginning of next fiscal year. March 12th, the Senate and the Assembly from New York State have both put out their One House bills, which is the efforts of our lobbying across the state to hopefully increase funding in STOA and meet some of our capital needs and our request for Cortland, as the chairman talked about. So just to highlight the two One House bills, the Assembly has proposed a 7% STOA increase for above the current STOA allocations for 24-25, and an additional $100 million of capital funding for non-MTA systems. So those are everybody outside of the New York City MTA region. They also added a $1 million operating increase specific for us taking over Cortland County. So we appreciate that from the Assembly side, which is chaired by Assemblyman Magnarelli here at Syracuse. The Senate has proposed a 15% increase, which was our state ask for NIPTA, with also adding an additional $50 million above the executive budget for non-MTA, and then an additional $26 million for NFTA for their rail project out in Buffalo. Just to highlight, the executive budget was proposed at 3.4% over last year. So looking at the history, last year, the Assembly and the Senate are almost identical to what they've put in their One House bills last year for 24-25, and we ended up at just about 8%. The executive budget was a little higher at 5%, 5.2. So the 3.4 on the executive side, a little lower than we saw last year, but we're hopeful that in the next couple of weeks when we see a final budget come through, that we see another good significant increase in state operating assistance and also that additional funding for Cortland and our
Chris,
capital project.
the Senate is not giving us they don't want to give us startup funds?
They did not put it in their One House bill, no. But with the 15%, that's about $8 million to the state operating budget for us alone here in Syracuse. So hopefully with that increase, it covers our request for that operating assistance increase. So, as I talked about with the legislative meetings, so we did wrap up our legislative meetings in March. Steve and myself put a little road show on to meet with Senator May's staff, Assemblyman Barkley staff, and Senator Ryan to discuss the request that we just outlined above. And then after last board meeting, Chairman Leno and I met with Senator Griffo and Assemblymember Button showing out in Oneida County. All the conversations are well received and were, received support in our asks. They understand what we're here to do. So we're hopeful to see how the budget continues to play out. Just a few other things to highlight that are outside of my report. Certainly the biggest is Cortland County. We've been plugging away for the last 7 months, and the time for the launch of Cortland is just a few days away. Monday morning at 6 a.m. we will be launching Cortland County, central of Cortland, at 6 a.m. So everyone on the team's been working together for the last 7 months. It's been a pretty large lift amongst everything else we do in our other 4 counties. So with BRT and the system redesign, let's throw Attic County on top of that. And the team stepped up huge to accomplish this and make it happen. I can share it. I think I've shared before. DOT, New York State DOT, thought we were crazy that we could add a county in 7 months. They questioned it several times on several meetings, but we proved to them we could do it. So
That was much quicker than we did in Oneida County.
Oneida County was about 7 months. They started a little early with a study.
Yeah, that's maybe why. it
But the
was
full
brought out.
takeover was about 7 months.
But they had a little bit more, I think, infrastructure.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
problem.
we inherited buildings and such that we do not have now. So, through the process, I just want to thank everybody for their hard work and their support on all the staff from all levels, and certainly the support from the board to make this happen. And we're excited about it, and we're excited for Monday. Just as a highlight on Cortland, we did finalize a lease agreement for a long-term lease for a permanent location in Grant Street. So we did get the keys on that this week, and we will begin evaluating our relocation plan to that this summer. Temporarily, we will launch with the Cortland County Highway Department. They've been gracious enough to share some space with us, so we'll start the process on moving to a permanent location right after the first of the month. Another highlight recognizing Centro, so Trapeze, which is our scheduling software, our operation software. Last week, we were awarded the RISC Trailblazer Award for Excellence in Transit Safety and Compliance. This award is presented to a transit agency that has demonstrated exceptional leadership in the transit safety by leveraging Trapeze RISC to streamline safety reporting, improve incident management, and maintain regulatory compliance. And through that process, Trapeze felt that Centro was a perfect recipient of this award. So Raman's team and a couple folks from the operations were at this conference last week, one of which was Amber Miller, who was also a featured speaker at the conference representing Centro on this RISC program. She represented the Centro and the product very well. We thank her for her efforts in being recognized as that. And we thank Trapeze for recognizing us for our movement into recognizing and tracking safety incidents across our system. One more thing to highlight, I just want to introduce the board to our new Director of Fleet Maintenance, George Bordanos. George here in the galley, if you want to stand up and just recognize that. So before joining Centro, he spent 25 years with Waste Management in the Western Division in Massachusetts, where he's advanced from a diesel mechanic all the way up to the Senior District Fleet Manager. George comes with us with a lot of maintenance experience and leadership skills. So we just want to welcome George to the Centro team. And continuing, our various meetings and our projects are still moving along. So we're excited to continue to see that happen. And from there, are there any questions on my report?
And Chris will keep us informed on the budget developments as where we land.
Yes.
He'll send us something out just to see the numbers we're talking about and where we landed.
Yeah, and we're still, as NIPTA, we're still pushing to 15%. So
Good.
we just sent out some updated literature to our elected officials on that. So hopefully we can see the good increase. Moving on to staff reports, we have one, Steve King.
Morning, everybody. In your budget packet, you should have received a copy of our equity analysis for our fare changes that we're going to institute in Portland. Even though we don't operate Portland now, the federal government, the FTA, requires us to do an equity analysis to essentially put our fare system into place in Portland, because it's not the same as what they currently charge their passengers. In almost all instances, we're going to be offering a fare decrease for their current situation, where they have city routes now that have a bus fare between $1.50 and $2. That will be decreased to $1. Their commuter service that goes to Cornell is currently $5. That'll be a $3 ride. It's all consistent with all the fare structure within the rest of the Centro system. This gives us economy of scale within the revenue collection department, not be printing different types of passes and making things unique and one-offs. So that was really the basis for what we're doing there in Portland. When you do the equity analysis, because it's essentially a fare decrease for all individuals, even though we are discontinuing their practice of offering free transfers. It'll be a pay-as-you-board kind of system. We do offer a monthly pass to help mitigate that fare increase for individuals. We're decreasing the price of the monthly passes for the city users. When you do the analysis, it passes the Title VI muster. It's neither a disproportionate burden or a disparate impact on any of the low-income or minority populations. So we are going to move this forward as long as the board approves. I think actually all you really need to do at this point is make a motion that you have heard the equity analysis.
Questions for Steve on that? That's a pretty involved report.
They all are. I mean, they all. You can't do it
Government.
simply. It's all into all the details of getting all the ridership data the best we could, and also the population base.
I read that last night before I went to sleep.
No, you read that.
Nothing
and pushed it
personal,
asleep.
Paul.
Okay, no other questions, motion, Tina? Second, Neil, any discussion? All in favor, aye. Nice job, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
And Mr. Chairman, that concludes.
We're doing some modifications with this meeting because I asked everybody to be here Wednesday instead of Friday, and I know people have different schedules, so I'm trying to work with everybody because you guys have worked with me. So Audit and Finance Committee, all this was discussed in detail this morning. I think Melissa gave a nice presentation of our fiscal position. Our position is strong as we look out many years out. We keep getting older and we keep seeing these tougher years coming. So we're gonna see how, our funding sources react to all this, because we're not the only agency in New York State or in the nation that are gonna be taking on some of these challenges. But I think we've been very responsible to this point, because managing the money that we do have, making that nickel a dime, okay? I think it's been good, so that was a good report. Motion was made to bring it to the full board. I have a motion. Tina, second. Julius, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Derek and Melissa, once again, you guys did a nice job with the budget. Remember, as I pointed out, numbers at this point are fluid until we get the hard numbers, which will be coming very soon. But what I like is when we put these budgets together, I like to see being aggressive on the expense side and conservative on the revenue side. I've lived my life like that. And because what can happen here is that expenses could come in lower and revenues could come in higher. So I think we're handling this right, and we have to budget accordingly, fully staffed. We want to get fully staffed. But I think that area was done well. And then the capital, I think there's some unknowns. We'll see where the money pops up for certain things there, but I mean, it's everything we know is when we put this together. With that being said, motion was made to bring it to the full board. Let's first, we're gonna couple those together, the operating and the capital budget. I have a motion. Monty, second. Luella, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Once again, being, I think, proactive and conservative. Pension contribution. Well, since our last discussion with the pension, this pension that we're talking about, when you put them all together, you're looking at just a little bit south of $100 million. That's a lot of money in pension. So, the way pensions work, we try to fully fund these, or as close. So if you're in 90%, right, Robert, you're in a good place. Yeah, you're in a good place, because it's something, because those pensions are promises that we've promised out for our retirees forever. Okay, so it's good this is the best I've seen over the 20 years, the best that I've seen the pensions ever funded here. So that's good. That's good. Motion was made to bring it to the full board, may I have a motion? Robert, second. Monty, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, resolutions. Tara, did you bring your blue pen for me after?
I sure did.
Okay. Regarding accepting of monies, motion 3A, operating funding transfer agreement with Cortland County. I have a motion. Julius, second Neil, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Accepting, some money from DOT, grant, 6013, I have a motion. Tina, second. Luella, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And who wants to accept, just south of 7.3, can I have a motion?
I thought it was north of.
Monty, second. Second, Tina, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so, let's just talk about, there's gonna be some logistics, there is some people that are gonna be joining us going down on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, who's going in the room, just so I know?
yeah, we're about to leave from here, right?
Yes.
7:15 in the morning?
Yes.
So we'll be here, what time, about 7?
What time does it get back?
I think it's 1 o'clock. I think it's slated for 1 o'clock,
Oh, okay.
right? Is that,
That's good, that we got some representation there, I think that'll be good.
You wanna leave here?
hopefully sooner. Right now it's scheduled from that window to leave here at 7:15 to return at 1, but the press conference is done at 10:30. And then hopefully from there, the ribbon cutting after, and then we can get people back hopefully sooner, but,
You don't have Franklin School Day.
okay.
I know, I wanna thank Steve, I know you put a lot of effort into this too. And I wanna thank, on behalf of the board, everybody here. Cause, Chris keeps me well informed on all the efforts that you're making from operations, finance, okay? You know, in life you fear the unknowns, and we have a little bit of an unknown here.
Yeah.
As you take on another county. But, I think this is good, I think it's good it's good, and legal, I wanna thank legal too for helping out, cause I know you got a lot of work going on
A lot
too.
going on.
Yeah, a lot going on with this, yeah.
The staff was amazing to work with on this. Did a lot of different things to make this work.
Yeah, that's good. And as you go down there, Julius and Monty, you're gonna meet a lot of nice people down there. I've been down there a number of times, and I think it's gonna be good. Anybody old business? Any other business? Julius, you gotta say something.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna have somebody at the meeting in April, at the TNT meeting in April.
No, we weren't on the agenda for April, it was,
Oh,
it
May,
was May.
it'll be for me, right?
Okay, very good. I need a motion to go into executive session. May I have a motion, please? Tina, second. Neil? Any discussion, all in favor? Aye, to discuss, personnel related matter. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
social and
Okay, we're coming back out of executive session. No action was taken in executive session, but at this time, I'm putting a motion on the floor for, a 2.5% increase for the non-represented employees of this organization. May I have a motion? Luella. Second, Neil. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Have a good week, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
We're adjourned.
Yeah.
Yeah, this 15 or what?